So the next step is creating entities. So I'm just going to walk you through the process of kind of the architecture of how I'm planning on doing this. So it's going to start with a damaging ray or a damaging body. They're basically the same thing, but one's a ray and one's a physics body. Probably a static body for the damaging body. And it's basically just going to carry a effect data and have some code that happens when it hits a hitbox. And when it hits a hitbox, it's going to emit a signal that carries this effect data as an effect, and that's going to be connected to by an entity. So an entity can connect to multiple hitboxes and that kind of thing, and it will connect to the effect. So now it has, when it receives this effect, it will receive the effect data, and then what it will do is it will tell the effect data to execute on the entity. So it'll basically just tell the effect data to execute on itself. And then this will pass into the entity effect package, which has all of these variables. It will basically pass it into its do effect with the entity and a bunch of other variables like or arguments like the spawner. So for example, if a damaging ray hits a hitbox, the spawner is whatever instance the damaging ray. And the damaging ray itself is the deliverer. So certain things like this. So for example, if a bullet hits a player, then maybe you would want to destroy the bullet or that kind of thing in here. Although that could also be done down here. So you have options for it. And then each effect package will also have a lingering effect, which will basically be spawned in after it, after the fact. And then you can extend this effect package to have whatever you want because it's all coming down from this do effect function. And so you can have this a set effect, which is just a static value that is changing the health by this amount, or you can have it lingering, which it does it multiple times, or maybe variable. For example, if you're on fire, then the longer you've been on fire for, the more damage you should take from it, or something like that, that kind of thing. So that's all options with this system. I'm going to get coding it, and we'll see what happens. There are a few issues that I might run into. For example, this references effect data. This effect data references entity. So this might be become a cyclic reference between effect data and entity. But I think I have a way around that using safe calls. So we'll see what happens, and I'll let you guys know if I run into any issues, and I will see you guys in a bit. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I finished basically the framework of it, of the entity system, and it was actually relatively painless, surprisingly. Relative being a key word, it's not. It wasn't easy, but it was a lot easier than the inventory system. So this this is a little bit of a mess when it comes to inputs. But to walk you through what's happening, I guess I'll start over here. So you'll have these three nodes, either delivering area, delivering ray, or delivering physics body, that can deliver an effect to an entity. And each of these communicates to a deliverer node, which is underneath them, through delivery data. So basically, for example, if a ray hits something, if a excuse me, if a delivering ray hits something, then it will create a delivery data and pass it into the deliverer. So basically, the delivery data carries like, okay, what object did you collide with? Where in the world did you collide with them? That kind of thing. And then the deliverer will then have a entity that it's attached to, so it has a reference to entity. Once the deliverer delivers something to an entity, it takes this entity and it calls a basically a deliver package on this entity data that is created from this entity package that it has. So basically, the deliver is where a lot of the coordination happens. So it takes an entity. It, so so it takes the delivery data and the effect package, and it creates an entity effect data. And then it calls a function on the entity effect data with the entity, just to tell it, hey, you're under these conditions, you're colliding. Like under these conditions, you're colliding. Or damaging this entity with this effect package. And then it takes care of a bunch of magic around there. And then hitbox is basically just something to say you actually did hit something that is intended to receive damage. Because obviously, if it hits a hitbox, I want it to behave differently than if it hits a wall. If it is a player, like if a bullet hits a player, I want there to be a blood particle or something like that. If it's a wall, I want there to be a bullet hole added to the wall. Um, so that's what it is right now, and I can show you what's going on here. Um, so this white up here is right now it is just um, the it is just a death cube with a delivering area. I've tested it with both rays and physics and the damaging or delivering body too. They all work. Um, but the area is easiest for testing. So if you fall into it, which I can't even damage myself, it's a oh, I'll be right back. So I forgot to do a null check here, but that's all fixed now. Um, so there's a bit of complicated yield action going on. Um, so just to I guess we'll actually I'll show you this because this is kind of cool. So I'll put a breakpoint here and I'll walk through um what's happening. So I'll hit this, and then we'll go through. So basically, once it delivers, it's going to loop through every effect. So it'll start with the effect, and then it'll go to its lingering effect. And the lingering effect is something that is activated after the original effect wears off. So that's how I'm planning on doing like fire or poison or anything like that. That's kind of lingering afterwards. So it's going to yield until the do effect is completed for the first one. Just the first effect, that's the initial one. So it's first going to figure out how many ticks it needs to run, um, uh, including obviously the first tick, which is when it's been hit, but also any lingering seconds. And then it's going to go through and it's going to do the effect. Um, and so now we're doing the actual effect guts. And this is what can be customized for different things. So maybe this is just a static change with a base health change, but it can be, I mean, it can be whatever. Maybe there's a fluctuation or something like that that over time it increases or over time it decreases. So I've been doing some work, and I actually got the lingering stuff to work. So I'll show you if I hit the death cube, um, you'll see that I take some damage and then I take some tick damage and then I eventually die from that lingering effect. So that all works, but I've been trying to um, make it so that you can cancel a lingering effect. So if you have a lingering effect, you can say you can remove it before it runs out. And I have tried just about every trick in the book, and I cannot get it to work at all. And that it's really because of how I'm using yield. Everything is done through while true yield essentially, um, which isn't ideal. Um, Again, while true and then yield down here. So I'm gonna have to do a rewrite. The whole reason I did this was to avoid a cyclic reference. So I'm gonna have to find a different way around the cyclic reference. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Um, and I will see you guys after I'm done doing that. I'd really hope this would be the final one. It would be so painless if this was it, but it's not. So I'm going to get working on that, and I will see you in a bit. So I'm back. It's been a little while. It's actually the next day from the last clip. Um, this is what I had before, and I've scrapped everything basically. So this is all gone. And the new solution is this. And you probably won't believe me, but this is actually simpler. Um, as you can see, most of them are green. They were very easy to make. The hard part, like even Hitbox wasn't that bad. It's orange only because of it has to manage inputs, or uh, not inputs, but imports. It has to manage imports. And there was a lot of difficulty down here in terms of architecture. But it's all fixed. This way is a lot more expandable. It's a lot easier to use. You can now turn on and off an effect after it's been applied. You can access its, you can extend it. You can access its multipliers. You can make it deal more damage or less damage even after it's been applied, and all that kind of thing. So it's much more expandable to do it this way. And just to show you guys this in action, I will run it for you. And as I collide with this cube, I take some initial damage, and then I take some tick damage, and then I'm gone. And this is using the delivering area, but I have it set up to work as well with the delivering body. So delivering body actually will deliver its package, its defect to whatever is touching it every tick. So this I'm going to die almost instantly on, because I'm still going to have collided with it. So I'm going to touch it, and I'm going to disappear. Boom, gone. And that would be nice for like maybe lava. Every tick that you're in lava, you take a certain amount of damage, but as soon as you're off of the lava, you're immediately uh, not taking lava damage anymore. Maybe it applies a lingering effect or something like that. But that can be done later. And then I also have a delivering ray. So I plan on using rays for bullets and that kind of thing. But rays are a little bit interesting, so just to make sure we are colliding with entities. And I'm going to cast us to 1, or I'll cast a 10. And rays work a little bit interestingly. So if I jump over it, you can see that it works just fine. But if I walk into it from the side, it doesn't. So if I jump onto it, it works. If I walk into it from the side, it doesn't. So this does not work. It doesn't deliver it. However, if I jump up, then it's going to deliver, and then I'm going to be gone in just a second here. Maybe it's off to the side too much. So I'll walk in, and I'll jump, and out. You see there, I'm gone. But the reason for this is actually quite interesting, and I'll show you guys in a second. And it's intended, and it's not a problem. There's actually almost all of the problems with the system are fixed now, but it is interesting, and it's worth sharing with you guys, because I thought this was really interesting. I didn't know this about how raycast works, so I'll share it with you. I'll be right back. I've made a little drawing to help explain what's happening with arrays, and I am the best drawer in the world, and I won't hear a word otherwise. As you can see, this is the death cube down here, and then you have the raycast, which is delivering the damage packet to the player body. So if it is arranged like this works because the ray is hitting the body right here, right? It hits the outside, and it works just fine. So this works because it is hitting it right here, right? This, on the other hand, though, this does not, because while the ray is going through the body, it isn't actually hitting it. So it's not hitting from the outside. Like this would work, but this would not work. So because the ray is originating inside the player body and going out, it doesn't work. And this is even, if you're curious, this is even without exclude parent being on. So if I change exclude parent off, and run it again, you'll see that the same thing happens. Yeah, I gotta change camera hand so I can walk into it. So I mean, the same thing happens. So it's not exclude parent. That's strictly referring to the parent in terms of in the node tree. It is. It won't work if it's originating from the inside. So this does not work at all. So the solution is actually to, if you're doing something like this, either use an area would honestly be what I would use in this case, but I just wanted to prove to myself that the raycasts work. But if I was doing this with a raycast, I would originate the raycast way down here and have it shoot all the way through. And this would work because it would hit right there. So that's just something interesting about raycast that I learned, and hopefully that's helpful to you guys. I found that really fascinating. So I'll see you in a bit. So I've made one final tweak to the way delivering rays work, and basically it's just I just changed it so that it's not going to deliver its entity effect whenever it collides with anything. It will only do it once per collider. So if something collides with it, then it's not going to get delivered again until it hasn't collided with it again. So if something, well, I guess it's best to just show you. So now it used to be that if I hit the ray, I would just immediately die because um, in within 2 ticks, I would be delivered the damage twice. But now it's just going to be delivered once, and I actually might have missed it. I might have jumped too high. But there we go. So now it's only being delivered once, which is helpful. And there's another solution for rays if I wanted it to kind of bypass that that problem with the raycast not delivering if it's in the middle. I could very well just duplicate this and move it up by however big it is. This one is 10, so I'll make it -10, and then I'll move your Y to 11. And I mean, this would work just fine. Now I can walk into it because um, there's a separate ray um, coming down on me from above. So I mean, this would work fine too. I don't have to worry about jumping anymore. But doing that would effectively double the amount of rays that I have, and I'm only planning on going in one direction with the arrays or the raycast anyway for bullets. Um, that's really the only thing that I'm planning on using them for. Um, so I'm I'm comfortable just leaving it with one, even though there is that limitation. Um, and I might have to change it. But I don't think I will. And if I do, I mean, it's just simply changing how it works. And the rest of this, I mean, I might change how I want, delivering bodies to work. For example, maybe I want them to only deliver every other tick or something like that. But for now, I'm happy with it. And changes now are just a matter of how I want it to behave. Nothing's broken; it's all working. It's just a matter of deciding how I want the entity system to work and shaping it to my wildest imagination. But that is everything. Uh, I guess I'll walk you through my final product here in terms of how everything works, if in case you're designing your own. But then I'm done with the entity system, and I'm going to go and work on terrain generation, and then after that, we'll finally start. We'll make a save and load system, and then from there, we are going to start from scratch, game design wise. I think we should have a tree to chop down. I'll just go make a tree, that kind of thing. So I'm excited to start on terrain generation. I'm very interested. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So basically, a deliverer has a reference to a effect package that is exported. So you basically just say, "Hey, I want this delivered to have this effect package." If you're generating one from the code, uh, it's literally as simple as creating a new one of these, and then you can customize any of its values that you like. And this deliver is referenced to by delivering bodies and delivering areas and delivering rays and whatever else I want to put out here. If I want to have that other that fix for a raycast, I could do that. I could just make another one of these. But these are going to figure out where the deliverer is, and they'll also have to figure out what spawned them in, either from the init function or from their parent. And they will then detect if they're delivering in their own way. So obviously, right, an area, for example, is if the body's entered it and that kind of thing. So they will detect that, and then they will pass. They will collect some effect data. So that's basically some kind of mods for it. So basically, let's say if you're using a bow and the bow's speed has sped up from what you've, or better yet, if the arrow has slowed down, then the delivering ray might say, hey, we're going to have less damage because we've slowed down for some reason or another. So that's going to be delivered along with the data for like what it's delivering to, what collided with it, when it collided with it, where it's collided with it, that kind of thing. And this deliver will take that data and turn it into a delivery data. And it will also detect if it's actually delivered to a hitbox or not. And if it has, it will take hitbox data, which is basically like, okay, um, let's say the player has 50 armor on, but then he has some extra armor on just his legs, or maybe we want to deal less damage if we get hit in the toe than we do if we get hit in the head or that kind of thing. So depending on which hitbox it's hit, it will get take this hitbox data, and it will actually take this hitbox data and roll this in with the effect data, so it's all one modifier instead of multiple separate modifiers. And then the deliver will kind of take all of this stuff and convert it into a active effect. So once it's converted into an active effect, it's going to pass it to the hitbox, and the hitbox is going to emit a signal um, to let the entities that are connected to it to let them know that they've received an effect, and the entity will then keep track of that effect, and it will communicate back and forth between the effect with effect results, and handle those. So you can change. So you want to extend or have a special kind of effect, you can extend active effect and change how it processes your delivery data, your effect package, and your effect data. And you want to have a special entity that handles active effect tick results differently, which is a bit of a mouthful. Then you can extend entity and change how that works. And then entity data is basically just describing, what's the max health, how often are you going to regenerate your health, and that kind of thing. So it's not that bad. It's a lot to look at visually, but it's actually a lot simpler than the other system. This one, um, and even if it doesn't look the part, um, but this is a lot easier to use. The one system that I wanted to put on it, but I don't think I am, is shields. I thought maybe I would have another entity, like have a shield system and that kind of thing, but I think instead I'm just gonna have a physical shield. Why not just make a second entity with a second hitbox that's a shield, right? And then this entity could be extended to say, hey, make sure this entity's out of health before you take health, or before you take damage. So there's options for sure. But I don't think I'm going to bother about that, and I think it's done for now. It works well, and it's expandable. I can change effects. I can change entities. I can extend effect package if I want and add more stuff to it. And the entity can ask. Ask an active effect to stop. It can extend it. It can change. It can change some of its effects. It can do just about anything like that. So that's what I have now, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to work on, like I said, the terrain generation system. I have no clue how I'm going to do that, so I'm going to spend a while scratching my head and then I will see you guys, I guess, in the next video, where I discuss that. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time.